Friends, we have had the most insanely wet week. This past week has been crazy. And so unfortunately, all of that rain has all leaked into the barn, and our barn is gross. So what is it time for? A barn overhaul project. Okay, so seriously, so much rain this week. Literally, in the last week, we have gotten more than 6 inches of precipitation, which, okay, for Texas, we get like 40, maybe 45 inches a year. And so we literally got almost 20% of our annual rainfall in the last week. Oh, it's been wet and muddy and a mess, you guys. I'm so ready for it to dry up. Unfortunately, we have really bad grading around our barn as well, and so it can handle normal showers. It cannot handle 6 inches of rain in a week. And so, you guys, it's gross. I'm gonna show you, but it's gross. Okay, so as we come into our barn, it used to be nice ground here, and instead, the water has seeped in so badly. This is just mud and muck for the first, 10 or 15 feet into the barn. It's just disgusting. So thankfully we have some stepping stones so the goats don't have to walk in the mud, but oh my goodness, you guys, it's horrific. And then over here, unfortunately, our 2 kidding stalls are completely drowned in the mud. And so right now they're totally unusable. It's just so wet. We have the same issue over here. It might even be worse in our stall for the babies. I hope you can hear my feet squishing in the mud. It's so bad. But here for where we have the babies at night, it's awful, you guys. It's so wet. So we've made them this pallet area in the side, in the back here, just so that they can stay warm and dry at night. But it's awful. Over here where our minerals are, I guess is a low point, and with the heavy traffic, it is also a mud pit. And so, you guys, this whole barn is just horrific right now. So needless to say, we have never seen it this bad in the 5 years we've lived out here. But this is not okay. It is not okay for animals to live in this level of moisture. It's not. And so, no judgment. Obviously, you know that we're struggling with it. I know people struggle with it. But you have to do something, because especially hooved animals cannot have this level of moisture. It is not healthy for them. So it is project day. We have got to get this thing fixed. Okay, so we have a 2-step process in mind to get this thing fixed. Step 1 is just to get the barn habitable so that the animals can function until we can get it totally fixed. So what that means is along this back wall here, we're going to be adding more of those pallets so that they can have a raised platform area where they can get out of the wet. That should allow them a nice, warm, and dry place to go to bed at night, and that is so important for animals. We're gonna have to do the same thing over here in our kidding stalls, because you guys, I've got 5 mamas who are due in about 2 weeks, and so we gotta get moving on this. I need places to put these mamas when they are having babies. And then because we have so many mamas who are due soon, instead of just these 2 kidding stalls, we need to expand to a 3rd and maybe even a 4th one over here. So we are really gonna take up all this extra room that we've had in the barn with some kidding stalls, nice raised platforms, so that hopefully everybody will be nice and comfy and dry. Okay, so all of these pallets are really gonna save us for right now when it's raining and I just need my goats to be in a safe, dry place. But it's not a great solution, because you know what? In addition to just needing, a dry place for the goats, moisture is a breeding ground of bacteria and fungus, and you guys, it smells bad in here. So we need a real solution to keep the barn dry, whether it's raining or not. So here's the big project. We have hired a landscape company that's going to come out and grade the area around the barn. So what that means is all this area to the side of the barn, this is the buck pen. All of it is very flat. And what that means is when the water rushes off of that huge flat area, you can see how far down it goes. We have a huge flat area for the bucks, and it all rushes a little bit downhill, so it goes down to the barn and it seeps in through the ground. So instead, we're going to have it graded to where there's something of a ditch or a swell, and that'll let the water run away from the barn rather than straight to it. And then we're going to do the same thing over here where the girls are, so that once the water's directed around the barn, it can go all the way out to the pasture without going into the barn. So we're really hopeful that this is going to fix the problem once we have some better grading, some good, ditches where the water can be directed the way we want it to go. And hopefully it won't just sit there and soak in under the barn like it's been doing. So unfortunately, that's the type of project that takes weeks to get on the books and finally get contractors out here. You're always waiting on weather. Is it going to cooperate? And so it may be a while before we actually get it done. So this pallet fix is absolutely going to save our animals right now. They are in gross conditions. It's so wet, and we can't leave them there. They will get sick or they will get hoof rot, and I don't want to deal with either of those. Also, I just want my animals to be comfortable. I want them to be happy where they go to sleep at night. So we need to get these raised platforms going so that the goats have a nice dry place in the barn. Thankfully, we've been collecting pallets for a while, so this part of the project was super easy. We bought fence pickets to use essentially as deck boards on top of the pallets. This will allow urine to seep between the boards rather than sitting on top and making the platform wet, which then causes it to rot out faster. So step one of the whole project is to clear the area. We were nervous about how difficult it would be to clear out the old bedding given how wet everything was, but it wasn't too bad. We used a rake to pull it into piles and a pitchfork to scoop up the piles of old bedding and throw it in the cart. Okay, so we got it clean. The next step is we need to build our next kidding stall because these mamas are having babies soon. We ultimately decided to add just one kidding stall because I really hated the idea of taking more floor space from the other goats. We will just have to hope that the 5 mamas don't all go into labor at the same time. We didn't need a huge stall though, so Logan cut down a panel to just wide enough for one of our new pallet platforms. Then I went to work attaching some welded wire to the cattle panel while Logan screwed down our platform deck boards. We really like the stability and the size of cattle panels, but those sweet little goat babies can pop through the gaps. So I like to add just a short section of welded wire to panels that need to contain babies. Plus, it's super easy to attach. Just wrap the wires at the edges around the panel's edge, and then add a few zip ties to hold everything together in the middle. With all of our pieces ready, it was time to get the walls in place. We used brackets to attach to the barn wall, and then added 2 T-posts to hold everything else in place. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys this. It is like a huge metal spiral, and this is going to be our hinge for our gate. I searched high and low literally for years to try to figure out how to attach 2 cattle panels together to make a hinge. And there's not a lot out there. This is the thing. This is what you need if ever you're building cattle panel fences like we do a lot and we want to have a cattle panel gate. This thing is amazing because it just works as a super simple hinge. So I will leave the link down below. Premier One is who sells these. They're fantastic. These spiral hinges really are awesome. We use them on all of our pig areas because they're strong enough to hold cattle or hog panels together even against the weight of a fully grown pig. Plus, they are super easy to install and super impossible for your animal to accidentally uninstall. The last thing this stall needed was a clasp to hold it closed, so we installed a kick plate so that an antsy mama can't just push her way out, and a super simple carabiner clasp to hold the gate closed. And there we go, a super quick and easy kidding stall. All right, kidding stall is done. Now it's time to do the platform for all the other goats. We wanted the pallet platform for the other goats to be nice and big, so we used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pallets. Between platforms for each of the kidding stalls, one for the bucks, and this big one for the does, it took almost 50 fence pickets to cover all of the platforms. That's over 150 square feet of nice, raised, dry flooring for all of these goats to enjoy. And then we just screwed down the boards to the pallets, so these were super easy to assemble. I'm hot and tired, but one down, one to go. Oh, and then, the other 3 small ones that we still have to build. But then we're done. On the bright side, the first one is always the slowest, so the remaining platforms came together really quickly. Okay, pallet platforms are all built. Mucking is finally finished. We just need to put the finishing touches on the barn and then we can call it a day. Since we mucked all of the old shavings out, it was time to finally add some new, fresh shavings to the barn floor. These pine shavings always make it smell so nice too, which is a very welcome change to the gross, damp smell that had been in the barn previously. While picking up the old bedding requires tools like a pitchfork and a rake, I found that the easiest way to spread out new pine shavings is just with my feet. Plus, at this point, my arms were so tired and I don't know that I could have lifted a rake. As always happens on project days, I got a little bit distracted with a side project, getting our new meat chicks out of the brooder in our warehouse and into a bigger cage in the barn. They were so happy to have more room. These chicks are only a week old, but they grow so quickly, and that brooder was getting a little bit cramped. I'm sure they also enjoy the company of the baby goats at night. I am so happy with how these platforms turned out. Now, while the goats might enjoy the cold bare wood in the heat of summer, right now we are still having nights in the 30s. So the very last thing we did was to put a decent layer of shavings on all of them. So the goats should be warm and dry in the barn tonight. We are done. At least for today. We still have the landscaper who hopefully will be coming in a couple of weeks to really fix the grading, which should, fix all the issues. But at least we have the Band-Aid on the situation for now. And I am so excited about going inside and taking a shower because I am exhausted and just gross. I don't know if you've ever mucked a barn, but gross. So I will see you guys in the next video. We are really, really hoping that the next video is a pig farrowing video because our sweet Katara is due any moment now. So hit subscribe if you haven't yet. If you're interested in seeing a pig birth video, we are really hoping that's what's up next for us. We do have more goat mamas who will be due soon. That's why we had that extra kidding stall set up today. So please hit subscribe, leave us a like or a comment. We love hearing from you guys. Thanks for watching. Her teeth are small. And you'll almost never step on this one more. You'll be stepping on multiple.